Sure. Y'all ready? Y'all, we're ready. Thank you all for joining me for the September 14th, 2021 meeting of the Hendersonville Board of Mayor and Aldermen. If all those who are here could stand with me, we're going to begin our meeting as we typically do. That's with a prayer and a pledge, and then we'll go through with our agenda at that point. Please bow your heads with me. Dear Lord, thank you for bringing us together, and thank you for the gifts, talents, and abilities you've given us to come here and to serve you, and not just to serve you tonight, but to serve you as we go away from here. Certainly there are people in our midst and people who are loved ones that are hurting, and we know that includes Marv Ham, Steve Luther, and John Sexton, as well as other folks that we know in our heart that need your extra attention. Also, thank you for the people who protect us here, the people who protect us far away, and help us, as I mentioned, to continue to do your work, not just here, but as we go forward, and help us to remember to be kind. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Please join me for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. We're good? I'm going to entertain a motion to accept our agenda. We have a motion from Alderman Waters and a second from Alderman Hayes. Sorry. I do need to make a couple changes, and that is that we had a mix-up that item C should be considered as a group. Item G should not. And then also, I've got two changes in my one change, and that is that the minutes. We need to defer the minutes. We found a couple items there that had to deal with suspending the rules at the last meeting. You remember that the sound wasn't real good at our last meeting, so we need to do some research on the minutes. So I'm going to ask that we remove approval of minutes from our agenda, and then make the other change that I mentioned, that C be considered with the group and G not be considered as a group. So I'm going to make that motion as an amendment. And a second from Alderman Waters. Are you all okay going ahead and voting on that? I see Alderman Brown has his light on. Alderman Brown, you okay if we vote on that one item, then we'll come back to you? Okay. Okay, any discussion on those items that I just brought up? All those in favor of the amendment, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Alderman Brown.
Thank you, Mayor. I would just like to add to our agenda a Parks Liaison report.
Where do you want to put that? Brief committee reports?
I'll put it wherever you'd like.
Why don't we do it right in front of the general committee, which is a report by Chairman Brown.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, and that's going to be Parks Board?
Parks Board Liaison.
Okay. Okay. So we've got a motion from Alderman Brown. We have a second from Alderman Hayes. Any discussion on that? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Let me just give you all heads up. Electronic voting, we're trying to get it up, but when Jason has been able to get it assigned to this screen earlier, it made some other things fall off the screen. So we'll try electronic voting as we go, but it's going to require a little bit of patience as we do it. And right now he's looking at me like that was even foolish for me to suggest we should try it. Any other proposed amendments for the agenda? So we have two amendments that are really creating four changes. C is now part of the group. G is not. We're removing the minutes from August 10th, and we're adding a Parks Board report from our Parks Board liaison under brief committee reports as the first item. All those in favor of this agenda as amended, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. We have an agenda. Appreciate y'all's help on that. Next, I get to do something pretty neat. Mr. Trammell, could you join me? So those who don't recognize this man, shame on you, to be quite honest. He's been around for a little while, and he's helped us an awful lot. Let me tell you a little bit about Gene Trammell. Gene Trammell served as an alderman from 1987 to 1998. He represented the citizens of Ward 1. Certainly, if you have not met him, you have witnessed what he was able to accomplish as an alderman. He served as vice mayor from 1994 until 1998. He served as the board liaison for the Parks and Recreation Board and the Municipal Board of Zoning Appeals, and he served as a member of the Public Safety Committee, Finance Committee, Capital Projects Committee, Management Review Committee, Process Review Committee, Impact Fee Committee, and the Golf Course Commission. That's sort of why we're here tonight. Gene began serving on the Hendersonville Golf Course Commission in 2005. A couple months ago, he asked that I not reappoint him. And it was after I made the decision that I was going to reappoint him. So Gene has asked that he not be reappointed. And let's just say that he is leaving a legacy with our Golf Course Commission that certainly leaves it as a bright, shining star for the city of Hendersonville and among all municipal golf courses. Now, therefore, I, Jamie Clary, mayor of the city of Hendersonville, by the authority vested in me as mayor, and on behalf of the entire board of mayor and aldermen, do formally proclaim our gratitude and appreciation. And I encourage all of our citizens to join with us in honoring Gene Trammell for his dedication and service to all the residents of the community. It has taken him this long to finish all his responsibilities for our community. We appreciate it very much, Gene. Thank you. Do you want to say anything? Do you want to say anything? Why don't you do that? Okay.
Thank you. Well, it was been a long run, but I enjoyed every minute. And I just want to thank everybody on the board, mayor and alderman, president and past, because we served under what, John, four mayors?
Several.
4 mayors. So just thank everybody. Y'all keep up the good work and leave my golf course alone.
Mr. Trammell, thank you so
you.
much. Appreciate that. Next, we have a presentation by Jim Young and a couple folks with the Resource Authority of Sumner County, and they're going to introduce themselves when they come up. I need to introduce, or sort of give you an idea why we're here. The Resource Authority of Sumner County is not a function of the county government. It is owned by 3 entities. Sumner County owns 3/7, City of Hendersonville owns 2/7, and Gallatin owns 2/7. They are a separate entity from the county. They're a separate entity from the cities. That was set up, help me out, John, Private Act 1978.
Something like that.
Okay, and it has been a separate entity since that. Initially, its function was to burn garbage and provide energy for one of the industrial facilities nearby. That changed over the years, and now really what it is, it's a processing plant. Is individuals and companies can dump their garbage there, and then the Resource Authority of Sumner County takes the garbage from there and gets it to a landfill. As you can assume that when a community grows and when the economy is good, there's just more trash. We currently, the city of Hendersonville, our residential trash does not go to the Resource Authority of Sumner County. We have a contract with Allied/Republic. So Waste Pro picks up our garbage. We have a contract with them to pick up our garbage. And then we have a contract with Allied Republic to accept our garbage. We are still an owner of this entity. Non-owners and owners can dump their trash at the Resource Authority of Sumner County. People, businesses from outside Sumner County can dump their trash at the Resource of Sumner County. Really what you've got is you've got an area where the trash is dumped and people can bring recyclables there as well. And it has become very, very busy, and we have probably all gotten some phone calls from folks that want us to fix the backup and the problems with traffic there. Because very often it does get backed up, especially when you have commercial haulers interacting with just residents that want to go dump some stuff there. And I say stuff because we're talking about recyclables, we're talking about ugly, ugly things. There's very little the Resource Authority doesn't accept, and that has become part of the problem, is that the traffic there has become increasingly difficult, and it's just harder to get everything off the floor and get it to where it needs to go. So the city of Hendersonville has 2 representatives on that 7-member board. It's myself and Jim Young. I think Jim was just reappointed about a year ago, and Jim has been on that board for a long time. He understands this much better than I do, and I'm going to ask him to speak in just a second. During the growth as the growth has happened, we have seen days where we've had long lines and we are not able to always accommodate everybody we need to, and we just have more trash that's coming through there. So about 2 years ago, the Resource Authority Board, which is myself, Jim Young, 3 people from the county, 2 people from Gallatin, we decided we really need to look at how we expand this facility. And there's a couple different items we looked at. One thing we did is we bought some additional property that has a rail spur on there. Another action that we took is that we signed a long-term contract with a landfill in Smith County. The reason that they're here right now is because of the financing for that. The Resource Authority of Sumner County could go ahead and sell bonds itself, but because of the way it's structured, the interest rates are going to be a little bit higher. What they're here to talk to us about is another option, is that the three entities get involved in selling those bonds and borrowing that money, somewhat becoming a co-signer. What I want you to understand, though, is that that doesn't mean that we have to send our trash there, but right now we can't send our trash there. They are so busy right now that we could not send our trash there if we wanted to. They just do not have the capacity to do that. We have our contract with AAA Republic coming up next year. I guarantee you they're going to ask for more money than we're giving them right now. I guarantee you anybody that bids on that is going to ask for more money than they're charging us right now. This expanded facility gives us an option, and it gives us some leverage, so when those bids come in for where our trash goes, we have the possibility of paying less. If we just allow the Resource Authority of Sumner County to borrow, the interest rate's going to be a little bit higher, which means that the tipping fees are going to be higher, which means that the debt service is going to be a little bit higher. What they're going to present to us tonight is an option so that the debt service is lower, and so the tipping fees could be lower. Therefore, we have some leverage, or at the very worst, we have a different place to send our garbage. So we have a couple options here, and I want Jim, if you could start out and then introduce Larry and Ryan.
First time I've been in this room in a long time. Good to see you folks, and thank you for the job that you do. I have with me this evening, I'm really not an expert, and those of you know me know that, don't you? I have Larry Wright, who's the manager of the RASCO, and I have Ryan Maloney, who is our engineer. So technical questions they can answer. The mayor explained most of it. What we're proposing to do is we're adding a new facility in addition to the facility that we have. Currently, as you well know, those of you who've been around a while, we were a waste-to-energy facility. Our furnaces got bad, went out. They wanted $60 million for new furnaces, so we said, hey, we'll just become a transfer station. So that was in 2005. At that point in time, Hendersonville opted to come and have theirs hauled directly. They didn't come to the Resource Authority. Prior to that, we were a losing proposition because we were selling steam, as the mayor mentioned, and it was regulated as how much we could charge. Since we've become a transfer station, we're making money every year. The problem is we've got more stuff than we can handle. Our facility is designed to handle about 350 tons a day, and there's some days we have over 600 tons of garbage coming into that facility. There are long lines. We have a lot of residential people that are bringing stuff there. We have a lot of commercial people bringing stuff there. And we met with the Finance Committee tonight, and one thing that they mentioned, you're having a problem right now with your hauler because they say we go to Nashville or wherever you go, and the lines are so long we can't make a turnaround. Our people that are coming there are fighting the same thing. With the advent of this new facility, we'll be able to handle it a lot faster because all commercial will go to the new one, all residential will go to the old one. So we'll divide it up, and it'll run very, very smooth as we anticipate. As the mayor mentioned, we could borrow the money as a resource authority, but we are not a taxing entity. So therefore, the rate on the bond would be much higher. By using the county, Gallatin, and Hendersonville, the bond rating will be much better, and since you do have the ability to tax, our interest rate will be much lower. We're not asking you to make the payment. What we're asking for is if we do, for some unforeseen calamity hits us, we can't make the bond payment, that you would pick up 2/7 for Hendersonville, 2/7 for Gallatin, 3/7 for the county. Now, you're saying, well, what could happen that you might need us to do that? I really don't know. I don't know of anything, because if they go up on what they're charging us to dump, we're going to go up on our rate. So we're going to keep the same difference, the same profit margin as we go forward. I don't really foresee anything. And then your next question, I'm sure you say, well, what's all this we hear about, what's going to happen to garbage? Are you going to continue to have landfills? We don't know that either. I don't know anybody that does. But we do know that you've got to have one central place to collect it. You got to do that. You can't have people running all over everywhere trying to get to different places. So you got to have a collection facility. So that's basically what we're talking to you about, and then I think we'll try to vote on this at your next meeting at the end of the month. But I have people here that have answers. If you have any questions that you would like to ask, we're ready for them.
Appreciate that, Jim. Any questions for Mr. Young? Y'all are easy. Okay. Actually, Alderman Robertson. Oh, there we go.
My question maybe is for staff. If we co-sign on this bond, how will it or would it affect our credit rating? I know that when we were discussing the bond that we just borrowed, you said that's pretty much our limit, that we don't need to borrow anymore. So, and Jim, if you would, what is 2/7 of the principal that you would ask us to co-sign
I
on?
don't know, because it's only on the shortfall. It's only the amount that we couldn't pay.
How much are you going to borrow? How much?
13 million.
13?
13 million.
Okay.
Over 20 years, yes. The payment's like $780,000 a year.
We've paid off over $2 million since the last time we spoke about debt borrowing. Our total debt is somewhere in the realm of around 15. The maximum liability of the 2/7 would be somewhere around 3.4 million, I believe, if my math's correct, 3.7, and, 3.7. That would be equal to about where we were in 2018. As far as the word impact goes, it would not, I do not believe our credit rating would be altered in any way. Everything we do impacts, but I do not believe we would change from our AA rated, AA plus.
And would the comptroller have to approve this?
That's a great question.
The county will be borrowing the money.
Jim, can you step a little bit closer to the microphone? We can't hear you.
Sorry, the county will be borrowing the money. We met before we had meetings with anybody, and we've already had a meeting with the county commission. We met with the finance directors from Hendersonville, Gallatin, and the county, and went over all of this before we ever started talking to anybody else, so that they would know the financials and what was really going on.
Okay, can you tell me in a nutshell how this would benefit Hendersonville?
Well, it'll give you the option. Right now, you don't have an option of anywhere else to take it, your garbage. If these people go up, this will give you a better deal and a cheaper rate to haul your garbage once we get this thing completed.
So you
If you don't have it, then you're at the mercy of these other folks.
pretty much a monopoly,
Yes, sir.
that, only one game in town.
Yes, sir.
And you anticipate that the transfer fee would be less than the transfer fee would be from Republic, that what we're presently paying?
Yes, sir.
You do believe it would be less?
Yes, sir.
And you would be able to?
It is today.
Okay, and you would be able to handle the capacity if our hauler decided to go to the resource center?
Yes, we cannot now. We cannot today, and will not be until this thing's completed.
So it may not be completed by next year when the contract comes up?
That's correct.
Okay.
But it will, that's the reason we're trying to get started on it, because we anticipate Hendersonville coming.
Thank you.
Appreciate that, Alderman Robertson. Any other questions? Jim, thank you, and thank you, Larry and Ryan, also for the presentation from the Finance Committee. I think you answered some more detailed questions there, and appreciate it.
Yeah. Anything else? Thank you for your time.
Okay, appreciate it, gentlemen. Thank you. Next, we have a proclamation to the Daughters of the American Revolution. I'm going to hold off on that one until next month, because it's actually still, it's actually more timely at our next meeting than it is on this one. And then a presentation on Holiday Fest. Linda, do you want to come up? And Russ, are you going to join them? Okay, okay. I figured there had to be a reason you were putting on a Santa hat.
Mr. Mayor, Alderman, thank you for having us here this evening. Linda, as you all know, has been the founder and the emphasis behind Holiday Fest for 16 years now. My name's Larry Phillips. I'm the president, have been for the past 6 years. So we appreciate you letting us be here to make this presentation this evening. Tonight, we also have our king and queen, Greg and Krista Yandel. They're back there in the back.
Come up.
Come on up. And we do have a royal court. They're not here tonight. Terry and Pat Wood, Suzanne and Jake Holt, and Bubba and Susie Perry. So we just wanted to let everybody know. Was that? Oh, I don't want to get. Oh, yeah. I wanted to let everybody know that our presentations will start this week. On Thursday morning, we have the Champions of Valor breakfast. Trey Hargett is going to be here to speak, the Secretary of State, as well as Johnny Garrett, and we will be honoring the EMTs of Sumner County. So if anybody is available and want to stop by Bluegrass Country Club on Thursday morning at 7:30, that would be great. Next, after that, October 16th, we have the Gentlemen's Committee get-together, and that's at Hallmark Hyundai, and that will be on I think that's a Thursday night. Is that Thursday or Tuesday? One or the other. So the Gentlemen's Committee, October the 16th, we'll have that. Then, as you know, we put on the parade, and this year the parade is going to coincide on the same day with the tree lighting. So we'll have the parade all day, and then the tree lighting will be that evening to put those things together. We've also got the Indian Lake Loop on Thanksgiving Day. We've got the St. Nicholas Ball on December the 4th that we'll be having at Bluegrass Country Club with the title of Bringing the Magic Back to Sumner County. And this year we want to make sure that everybody knows that Miss Brenda Lee is our honorary chair and the Grand Marshal for the parade. So we do want to let everybody know that, and we hope that you can come out and be a part of all of our festivities. And don't forget that on November the 6th, we have the first annual Pig Festival. And so it's going to be a great event during the day with barbecue and everything, supporting Mary's Magical Place. And then that evening, we will have a pretty much country music get-together. I believe that's over at Ultimate Party, behind Ultimate Party like we did last year, which raises money for Christmas for Kids. So thank you again for having us here tonight. Any questions?
I think we're good. So
All right.
why did Russ go down there, Alderman Edwards go down there and not speak? We're sort of, just to put on your...
I wasn't asked to. I'm on the, I hope everybody still takes me seriously. Well, in addition to Christmas for Kids, what are some of the other nonprofits around the community that Holiday Fest supports?
Linda, you know the rundown of all of the charities that we
There's a lot of
have.
different charities.
We benefit the Senior Center, we benefit the Community Child Care Center, we benefit Monthaven Arts and Cultural Center, we benefit Pier Place, we benefit Grace's Place, we benefit the food bank, the Sumner County Food Bank. We put food boxes at every event and at every sponsor's office. Every year, it's a little different who we benefit. We have benefited United Way in the past. We've benefited just about every charity that's in Middle Tennessee between here and all of Sumner County. And every year, we're able to give about $150,000 once it's all said and done out of ticket sales and sponsorships. And so last year, you know, with the pandemic, we weren't able to do that. So we only did one event, and that was the pig dinner, where we raised us and Live Love Nashville and the Parks Department. We all raised about $60,000 so that 400 children could get their toys and their food and all that kind of stuff for Christmas. So we didn't do much else. I helped a few charities get grants this year, but that's been about it. So we're excited about the events this year, and we hope that you'll participate and join us and make us great in the community, because we love you all. Thank you so much.
I did want to add that the Indian Lake Loop, if you're not aware of, that 100% of that goes to Compass,
Compass.
which is community
That's right.
outreach, making partners at Sumner schools.
Yes.
So, 2 years ago, we had over 1,000 runners, which brought $30,000 strictly to Sumner County schools. Last year, we still had 500 runners, even though it was a pandemic. So this year, we expect that to be bigger than it ever has been.
And the breakfast started out with the Literacy Council, then it was DCO. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but they raised enough money over the 7-8 years that they did the breakfast to have their own office. And now it's bows and ball caps, which is a young lady with alopecia, and she makes bows and ball caps for children in the cancer wards all over the state. So that's the Santa breakfast, and it raises about $25,000 every year. Oh, everybody.
Everybody get in.
Everybody in this.
Come on, Russ.
Yeah. Get in here. Everybody. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. Appreciate it. Thank you, Larry. We have no public hearings. We have no minutes. Next, we have citizen comments. Speakers must identify themselves by name and address. Public comment should be limited to 5 minutes per individual, which time is not transferable to other speakers. All comments are to be directed to the presiding officer, not to the alderman, city staff, or other members of the public. Comments must address issues, not individuals or personalities. Personal attacks shall not be tolerated. Comments may support or oppose particular issues or measures, but the motives of those with differing views shall not be questioned or attacked. Malicious comments will not be allowed. Speeches for or against particular candidates running for public office shall not be allowed. Pat Collins, Shrock Road.
Good evening. I'm here to talk on the ordinance 2021-33 that is going to come before you for vote this evening. And the reason why I'm here is for a number of reasons. First of all, the mayor, the chairman, has had this proposal where he has chosen 7 members in the community from each of your wards. And it does not represent the population of Hendersonville. Okay. It is more, even though census is supposed to be non-political, on this panel and on this committee that is proposed before you are all Republicans. That's number one. Number two, the second thing, even though he also made a few minor changes from the last committee meeting, we have, which was proposed, so that's one thing that I'm just asking for a vote in a negative. The panel is not qualified. This committee that will be presented before you is not qualified to handle a census. The planning department is a department that is qualified to handle the numbers. First of all, in the last committee meeting, it was recommended that that they have someone on the planning department to be on this committee. It was removed. I'm against that because of, number one, the people not having the qualifications. Number two, the planning department, someone from the planning department who knows and who has been through census is capable of handling the numbers and to make it fair and across the board. Hendersonville has grown in a lot of wards, and the population should be balanced across the city. And that and transparency should also be there. But let me stop for a minute to clarify something about myself. I am here as a private citizen tonight, not as an election commissioner, to make that perfectly clear. And these are some things that I feel that you should take a look at seriously. The numbers that were given to the planning department were already late coming from the federal government. And that's an issue. A timeline has to be met. One thing that the chairman did put in, which is a good thing, is a time frame. And that would be what the proposal is, to commence October 1, 2021, and have a final present before the board, and then have for the first reading, which is tonight, and then present it again for recommendation for you no later than November 3rd. And that's on page 4. So I am recommending that unless there's some changes to take place, that you vote no on this ordinance 2021-33. unless you put someone from the planning department, or because the planning department is apolitical. That is what they get paid to do the numbers and to handle our census for us. And if you choose to vote with changes, let this be to show the population, the true population of the ethnicity of what is here in Hendersonville now. Numbers have grown over 10,000, and you may have those numbers before you, has grown from 2010 to over, beginning 51,000, and the 2020 census show in Hendersonville over 61,000. Look at the projection that will happen 10 years from now. Numbers, and the right reason why it's very, very important, because monies that will come in, if it's not done correctly, is going to affect education. It's going to affect roads. It will probably affect hospitals, things that we are struggling with now that must be projected for the future and its growth. So it's something for you to think about, and unless there are changes, I recommend, I would hope that you would vote no until it actually replicates what Hendersonville is all about right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Collins. So next on our agenda is voting on 6 items that are considered, 7 items as a group. That's items A, B, C, D, E, and F, 6 items. And nobody expressed a desire to pull any of those out, so let me go ahead and read those at this time, and then I'll entertain a motion to accept all 6 of them. Second and final reading of ordinance 2021-28. This is an ordinance establishing a consent agenda for meetings of the Board of Mayor and Aldermen. Second and final reading of ordinance 2021-30. An ordinance amending budget ordinance 2021-22 to appropriate donated funds. First reading of ordinance 2021-32. An ordinance amending budget ordinance 2021-22 and accepting donation from the Sumner County Anti-Drug Coalition in the amount of $3,047.42 for the Hendersonville Police Department Drug Fund. First reading of ordinance 2021-36. This is an ordinance adding a non-voting board liaison to the Deer Monitoring and Control Committee. Reading of resolution 2021-42, a resolution authorizing the mayor to sign paperwork related to the Friends of Indian Lake Peninsula's application for the 2020 Public Parks and Recreational Grant Funds. And then we have resolution 2021-45, a resolution accepting the dedication of the completed streets of Durham Farms Phase 1, Sections 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 15 in Hendersonville. Entertain a motion to approve those 6. Alderman Robertson makes a motion. Okay, we have a motion from Alderman Hayes.
Second.
And a second from Alderman Waters. Alderman Robertson, go ahead.
I just have a clarification on ordinance 2021-18. It's my understanding and my remembrance that there was an amendment that was added to Section 2 that included not only citizens' comments, but hearings.
Was that 2021-28?
Yes, 28, I'm sorry,
Okay.
yes. 2021-28.
Okay.
And I just want to make sure, has that amendment been included in the language before us? Or will it be done? I mean, I don't see it as I review page 12 under the tab.
Okay. So, 1 second, I asked our city attorney to answer that.
I'm not sure if it's been included or not. I don't have that in front of me, but if it's not, it will be in the final version because the board did vote to do that at the last meeting. I believe it was Mr. Edwards' amendment to include the public hearing. So the amendment that was made will be included in the final version. That's what you're voting on.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Appreciate that, Alderman Robertson. Any other items? All those in favor of accepting final reading of ordinance 2021-28, second and final reading of 2021-30, first reading of ordinance 2021-32, first reading of ordinance 2021-36, resolution 2021-42, and resolution 2021-45, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Now we have first reading ordinance 2021-33. This is an ordinance establishing a special committee to recommend new ward boundaries that reflect the federal 2020 census. I need to go ahead and make an amendment already. You saw an email in which I made some changes before your packet went out that were included in that packet, and that came from a couple comments and some of the conversation at the general committee. I need to make an amendment and to remove Steve Jackson. He's had a couple things come up and said that he can't serve on this committee, but I would like to replace him with William Stiles. William is also a Ward 6 resident, and I'd like to have William be the chairman, and you're going to hear why. William is a local business owner. He's a father of 3, and he has just moved to Hendersonville not too long ago, but he also has experience in the he's a former congressional staff member for Heath Shuler in Congress. And like I said, he would replace the person in Ward 6, and he is from Ward 6. So I'll make that motion. And a second from Alderman Robertson. A second from Alderman Robertson. Any discussion on that item? All those in favor of making that change, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Now we're back on the main motion, since we have dispensed of that amendment. All those in favor of approving first reading of ordinance 2020, Alderman Cunningham.
Thank you, Mayor.
Hold on one second, Alderman Cunningham.
Oh, sorry.
To actually put on the agenda. Okay. I apologize. We did not have a motion to place on the agenda to begin with. Alderman Waters, Alderman Robertson, would you agree to make that motion since you made the second of the most recent motion?
Move it.
Okay, so we have a motion to consider this item, and now we need a second. Second from Alderman Dixon, okay? And I feel like we should go back and approve the amendment that we just approved unanimously. So my amendment that I will make the motion for is to replace William Stiles for Steve Jackson. William will serve as chairman. Alderman Robertson, would you be willing to second that?
I second that.
Thank you. All those in favor of that item, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. Alderman Brown, you're the only one? Anyone else on that item? Alderman Petrelli. So that passes. Now we're back on the main motion. Alderman Cunningham, sorry I had to interrupt you. Go ahead.
Oh, that's okay. Thank you, Mayor. I was the only one that was on the board back in 2011 when we had the last redistricting. I keep on hearing that the process back then was politicized, and that's not exactly accurate. The planning department back then, Lisa Mulligan and Fred Rogers was our planning director. And Lisa, I know, worked days on the redistricting process, which in the end I didn't agree with, but it was what it was. And I know they did the best they could. I'm sure that the people that have been nominated to be on this committee are very well-intentioned folks and will do a very good job, I'm sure, but I just want to make something very clear, that the planning department staff are very well educated, trained, and experienced, and have and know what the requirements are for city mapping, the demographics requirements, and also have been through this process before. So I'm not sure why they are not going to be part of the, number one, part of the committee, and number two, not be in charge of the whole thing like they were in the past. There was no alderman input from that whole process from 2011. I don't know about 10 years prior to that because I was not sitting on the board at the time, but I just don't agree that a citizens committee could do the same job that our fully trained planning staff has done in the past. And I keep on hearing that in the past it was politicized, and it absolutely was not politicized in the past. So I'm not sure where that's coming from or who's making that observation about the past for redistricting. Just so you know, I was the only one that voted against that to 10 years ago because I just didn't agree with it. So that was my right to do as an alderman at the time. Not saying that it wasn't a good job and they didn't do the best they could, but to say that it was politicalized back then is just not accurate. And I will not be supporting this ordinance. Thank you, Mayor.
Alderman Cunningham, thank you. Alderman Dixon.
I just want to make one point about what it actually states in this ordinance. It does state that this committee shall use and work with the city employees as needed. That may not be strong enough, but it does state that.
Alderman Dixon, thank you. Alderman Edwards.
Mayor, what do you think about, to piggyback off what Alderman Cunningham and Dixon just said, what do you think about putting it in this ordinance that this committee will be required to utilize the resources of the planning department? Because they obviously have the best resources. It says city employees, but I think we probably need to get more specific. I'd like to know your thoughts on that.
I'm fine with that. Sort of where I was coming from is I think the committee should drive that. You want to look in here and we'll find a spot to.
I already have one.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Okay. What page should we go to?
Oh, are you talking about in the ordinance?
Yeah.
Okay, on the page 34, section 4C.
You're way ahead of me. Hold on here. Okay, section 4C.
And Mayor, you can correct me if I'm not being grammatically correct here, but where it says work with city employees,
Okay.
put semicolon, in particular, comma, utilize the resources of the planning department. And that would be, I would make a motion to amend this ordinance to include that language.
Okay. Where do you want to make four, is that going to be 4F or where is that going to be?
No,
Explain to me again.
where 4C is.
Gotcha.
Change, just modify
Gotcha.
the language.
Gotcha.
Instead of as needed, put
Okay.
what I read.
Okay, while we're doing that, can we go ahead and adjust the section numbers? Because I see there that we have a problem with the section numbers. We have two section 4s.
Okay.
So makes the second section 4, section 5, section 5, section 6, section 6, section 7.
That can be part of my motion.
Okay, and I'm going to ask one other item that if you want to include. Let's see. At the very end of item section 6, all meetings shall be video recorded and shown live. You okay with that?
I would, yes, I would like to include that as part of my motion.
Let me make sure that Annette is caught up with us. Okay. Okay. So we have a motion from Alderman Edwards for those three changes. I'll second that. Any discussion on those items? So Alderman Edwards, so go down to page 34, section 4, item C. Alderman Edwards, you want to read that for us?
Yeah, section C, just remove the language and put this, work with city employees, semicolon, in particular, comma, utilize the resources of the planning department.
Okay. And then section 4, we're going to renumber those items. And then at the end of section 6, which will actually be section 7, all meetings shall be video recorded and shown live. Any other questions on that? So we've got a motion by Alderman Edwards, a second from me. I've got a couple people here in the queue, but we need to be specific to this item or go ahead and vote on it. So Alderman Edwards, you want to continue or should we go to?
Oh, well, I've made the motion. You seconded it. Is there any more discussion on this motion?
That's what I'm going to turn to you first if you want to discuss it.
I do not need any further discussion.
Okay. So let's go to Alderman Collins on these items. Okay. Alderman Cunningham on this item?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. I just don't think that language is strong enough. I still think that the planning staff, especially our planning director, needs to be running the show here because they're the ones that have the education, the background, and the experience doing this. Thank you, Mayor.
Alderman Cunningham, thank you. Alderman Petrelli on this item? Oh, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I was going to actually ask what utilize the resources of the planning department means. I mean, coming from architecture, that's a very broad statement. So what does that mean, Alderman Edwards?
You're good.
Well, I think it's a little more specific than the language that was previously in there. And I suggest that the committee can do with that language what they will.
Alderman Petrelli?
Well, I mean, we're adding language, but the language doesn't really mean anything. I mean, if we're talking about what are the resources of the planning department that they're going to utilize, I mean, the planning, in my mind, the planning department should be leading this effort. So I appreciate your efforts to add this, but it really does not clarify or make anything more clear what the role of the planning department would be other than a fallback buffer. So I can't support this at this time.
Alderman Petrelli, thank you. Alderman Collins on this item?
Take out the part about the live video and vote on that in a different amendment?
Yeah, I would be fine removing that as
Okay.
part of my motion.
Okay, so we'll remove that. I'll remove 1/3 of my second. Jeanette, you with us? Okay. Alderman Collins?
No.
Okay, appreciate that. Alderman Brown on this item?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Just a question, I think I know the answer. To the amendment, you stated that you would prefer that the committee drives this. So what does that mean, Mayor, exactly? I think I know, but I would like to ask you.
So I explained a little bit in general committee that the citizens are the one that initiate the process, and they go out and they're going to be the ones that are going to seek information. Obviously, with this, the first place they're going to seek information is from the planning department. But they're going to be the ones that are going to decide which direction to go. It's not going to be the alderman. It's not going to be staff. It's not going to be me. It's not going to be you. It's going to be the citizens. It's going to be the citizens. To me, the citizens obviously are the foundation of democracy, and that they have the opportunity, if we have a citizens committee, to have something that's completely transparent. It's apolitical, and still it could be swift, which is what we need at this point.
Thank you.
Alderman Brown, anything else?
No, sir.
Thank you. Alderman Hayes on this item? Yes. Go ahead.
Yeah, I do also need to see stronger language, overseen by the planning department or directed by the planning department. I mean, these are professionals. This is what they've trained to do. These are big numbers, and we've got a very short time span to get the job done. I appreciate any of those people willing to serve, but I feel like the apolitical move is to have more or stronger language, for example, directed or chaired by the planning department. Approve. There must be some words we can use that would help me be in favor of this ordinance. Thank you.
Alderman Hayes, thank you. Alderman Campbell?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, instead of saying utilizing the planning department, how about utilizing the planning department director, Keith Free, and whoever he deems necessary to the process within his department?
I think that was actually my original
I
proposal
believe
from the
Keith
general
Free,
committee.
the leader, the director of the department. I think he ought to be the one in charge, working the process, and then whoever he designates from his department to work with this group of people.
We'll come back to Alderman Edwards in just a second to address that, but now I'm going to go back to Alderman Collins. Anything else, Alderman Campbell?
That's all, sir.
Appreciate that. Alderman Collins?
I do agree with you that citizens are the foundation of the democracy, and this is a fundamental issue to protect the democracy, to make sure that the redistricting is done appropriately. The thing that I disagree with you about is I feel like in order for this to be protected and as data-driven as possible, we need to have people who are trained in interpreting the data and applying it. I pulled the book for how to read census data. It's huge, but there's a summary. It's 240 pages. The summary of how to read the data. I just don't feel like this is work for lay persons. It's a premise to the existence of this committee that I don't agree with that premise. And in my opinion, I feel that planning should be driving the boat with a citizen committee that reviews and oversees the process and really monitors it closely and provides their feedback to us, because we should not be that involved in the process. That
Alderman-
is my opinion, and I would support the stronger language. But it's too weak, in my opinion. Thank you.
Alderman Collins, thank you. Alderman Robertson.
Well, I support the concept and the letter for 5 reasons. First, it comports with precedent. If you look at this city government, if you look at the county government, citizen committees are the standard. For example, the Parks Board. We have a Parks Board where citizens participate and make decisions. They listen to the Parks Department and listen to their good sage advice. The Planning Commission, let's look at the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission has reams and reams. I was on the Planning Commission for a short time, thank the Lord. But I was on the Planning Commission, and there are reams and reams of ordinances and law, applicable law that you have to be aware of as you set and make decisions. The Planning Commission is not a vacuum of expertise. It, in fact, uses the expertise of the Planning Commission, the staff. We can go down and look at other aspects of city government. We can look at the or the election commission at the county level. The people that are appointed to the election commission are not experts in election, but they depend upon the election staff. They depend on the professionals to help them. So first of all, I believe this exercise comports with precedent. Number 2, qualifications. It's been saying how important qualifications. Well, when I ran for alderman, state law only requires that I be a resident. So really what we ask citizens to do, what citizens ask politicians to do, what they asked committee members of the election commission or the planning commission, is to use their good common sense. And I have found in my experience, 68 years, that citizens have an extraordinary capacity to have common sense. So I think that having a citizens committee brings a modicum of common sense that I think benefits the process. Number 3, it allows citizens' comments. There is a real argument that citizens don't have enough voice in their government. This has not been tried in Hendersonville, but I applaud the mayor for making that attempt. We are going to allow citizens the ultimate ability to make a recommendation to us on this matter. Again, I trust the citizens' input. Next is it establishes a symbiotic relationship between expert staff and citizens. I was at the Public Service Commission. I was a commissioner at the state level. And when Governor Peterson appointed me, he didn't ask my qualifications. He kind of questioned me about my common sense, about some of my philosophy. So there I was appointed by the governor to be a commissioner of an agency that made very important decisions. But we depended upon our staff. We depended upon our general counsel. We depended upon our accountants, our economists. So that is the symbiotic relationship. I think that works. It works in government. And then last, it only makes a recommendation to us. Now, the way I see this working, and if I'm wrong, Mayor, if you see a different path of operational, let me know. But the way I see this is the citizens are going to come together. The staff is going to bring, as it does to the Planning Commission, they're going to bring recommendations. They're going to say, now you can do it this way to achieve numerical balance and racial balance. You can do it this way, so you got option A, option B, or option C. And the citizens representing every aspect, every demographic of this city will listen to what the professionals say, and then they will render a recommendation. They do not make the decision. This board makes the decision. So if we don't like the decision they make, then we can alter that recommendation. But to me, this is an excellent formula for us. We always say we want transparency. We always say we want citizens' input. Well, buddy, this is an opportunity to let your actions speak louder than words. Don't, board, please do not take away the voice of citizens in this process. Thank you, Mayor.
Alderman Robertson, thank you. And you described the process exactly as I feel like I've laid it out. Appreciate that. Alderman Petrelli. We are on the amendment.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate that. Any other discussion on the amendment? Jason, we're going to try to vote electronically. Can we do that? What do I need to do that? Just call the vote and you take care of it from here? Here we go. Okay. All those in favor of the amendment, please signify by hitting your green button. Those opposed, please hit, nope. Hold on.
Did you hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear you.
Can't hear you.
You can't, okay, hold on here. Oh, you knocked off our microphones. You didn't do it, I understand. I don't have my microphone back. Okay, Jason, you can hear me again, right? No. Oh, yeah, the voting portion of it is. Okay. Okay. All those in favor of the amendment, please signify by hitting the green button. Those opposed, hit the red button. We will try to vote. Okay. Okay, that passes 8-5. Jason, can you hear me? Okay. So now we're back on the main motion. Alderman Edwards, we're going to come to you for a motion, but I need you to add live, I think you wanted to do. Do you want to do that, or you allow somebody else to do that?
Well, somebody else can, if you want me to.
Okay, hold on just a second. I
Or
think
whoever, that was the.
I think we're good. Alderman Collins.
Like to move that we add live to, what section is that? 6.
Okay, 7.
7 now, yes.
And shown.
And shown live.
And shown live, okay. I'll second that. Any discussion on that?
Would you repeat that? I had trouble hearing.
Sorry,
Sure.
section 7, and at the end of that, put and shown live.
Okay. Any discussion on that item? Oh, Alderman Petrelli. Hold on here. Go ahead.
Yes, kind of. Let's just talk about the sections. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 5, 6.
Hold on one second, sorry. Oh, can you scoot up a little bit or pull your microphone down? So we had to renumber those sections because we have two section 4s?
Yeah, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, so the second 4 is 5?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, appreciate that. Any other discussion on this? It seems to be going unanimously. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Now we're back on the main motion as it's been amended twice. Alderman Collins.
Maybe you could set my mind at ease by telling me what other cities have citizens committees where the citizen committee drives the process instead of the planning department.
I don't know any other city that does this. There are some states that do it. Obviously, that's a bigger item to swallow. Where I was coming from, again, was I want to do something that was apolitical, that was transparent, and that was swift. I don't know any other cities that do it this way, but I'm fine being the trendsetter.
And what if we don't approve of their recommendation? As Alderman Edwards said, we could vote against it, but then we have a time. So how do we resolve that?
I mean, it would be up to somebody that, at that point, I'd really turn to the board and say, I need somebody to put together a map. Or we can alter their map and amend their map. We are certainly welcome to do that. And we'll have the planning department here to help us with that. And that's what's happened in the past, is that a map comes forward and occasionally the alderman will make some changes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds awful. I mean, it does. It sounds, yeah, but, okay.
Okay.
So there's no precedent for this.
For a citizens group for Hendersonville, no.
I mean, for communities around Hendersonville or similar to Hendersonville. Some states do it, but no other community has this.
Not that I know of, and one of the reasons that I came up with this was that I mean, there are an awful lot of organizations out there that say community should be more part of this. League of Women Voters, and you probably saw this quote, was that the citizens should be involved in the very beginning of it.
Yes.
And so I think we're going to see more of that from communities,
agree.
more of that in states.
I agree with that. It's just the level of involvement.
Okay.
Okay. I would like to offer an amendment
Go ahead.
that Pat Collins be included on the board.
Add her as an eighth person.
Yes.
So we have a motion and a second to add Pat Collins to the committee. And hold on 1 second. So let me make sure I understand. So it would be an eighth person on the committee.
Yes, somebody could amend my amendment if they have somebody they want to remove. but
Just a second, Rachel, we're having a hard time hearing you.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I keep forgetting to lean forward.
okay.
Somebody could amend it if they have somebody that they would like to remove, but I don't have anybody that I would like to remove. So
Okay.
we would add her
Okay.
just as an additional person.
Okay. So we have a motion from Alderman Collins to add an eighth person. That would be Pat Collins. And Alderman Brown, you seconded that, am I correct? Okay. Any discussion on that? Alderman Edwards? Alderman Edwards, go ahead.
I would. I mean, we need an odd number. I mean, I don't know if it's going to come down to an even. And I mean, if we, I don't have nothing against Pat Collins, but if we add, we need an odd number. So we either need to take someone out or add someone. And when we add 9, that may be too many. We're under a time crunch. I frankly think 7 was too many. So I don't know if I can support adding somebody else, with all due respect.
Alderman Edwards, we're going to go back to Alderman Brown. He seems like he might have a solution to this. Alderman Brown.
I believe, and this is probably a bad thing to say, but I believe you had 2 folks on here from Ward 4.
I do.
I would hate to take anyone from Ward 4 and Ms. Dixon's mind ward away, but if that would make the numbers down to 7 correct, then I would be willing to offer that up, and I'll let you make the choice.
If you're going to make the motion, you got to say who it's going to be. And Alderman Brown, can you scoot forward a little bit? We're having a hard
Yes,
time
I
hearing
can.
you.
Okay, you had put Mr. Tummons on here as chairman, and he did not want to be chairman, so I would offer that you remove him and add Ms. Collins.
So are you making the motion that we replace Mike Tummons with Pat Collins?
Yes.
Okay? So
that's fine.
do you want to change your motion?
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to remove Mike Tummons. Excuse me, the motion is to remove Mike Tummons and put Pat Collins on there. And that's a motion from Alderman Collins with a second from Alderman Brown. Anybody wish to discuss this item? Alderman Peterson.
Did anyone ask Ms. Collins if she wanted to serve?
Alderman Collins.
I'll let, if we can suspend the rules, I'd like, Pat Collins can answer that for herself. She's right here.
And I don't have a problem adding Ms. Collins, but I do not want Mike Tummons removed. Thank you.
Without objection, we are going to suspend the rules and have Ms. Collins speak if she would like to. Do y'all have any questions for her?
Yes, I do.
Who is it? Alderman Robertson.
Yes, sir.
I probably should know this. Do you live in Hendersonville?
Yes, sir, I do. I've been here for going on 12 years.
What ward do you live in?
Ward 2.
Ward 2. And you're presently on the County Election Commission, is that correct?
I am on the, yes, sir.
Yeah. Now, the recommendation that this committee will make to BOMA, then BOMA will vote on that redistricting. Then does your commission have to approve it?
No, sir. What happens is whatever you turn into the election commission, the commission follows whatever you give to us. We do not make any changes.
But do you have to vote on it to accept it?
I don't even think we would have to vote on that, because you all make the final vote and then submit it to the election commission.
Yeah, I guess my question is, I just want to make sure there's no conflict of interest.
I
with
have
your-
checked that out already. When I first saw the email that came from the mayor, I did speak at the state level through Mike McDonald, and I was told there would not be a conflict of interest. You can double-check that if you so choose.
No, I believe you 100%. I just had to ask that question.
I understand fully.
Do you want to serve on this committee?
I have no problem serving on this committee at all.
So, okay, have no problem. I guess that means yes. I guess, okay,
Yes,
okay. All
for
right.
clarification.
No further questions.
Ms. Collins, I've got a question. Just a minute ago, you said, we were talking about planning staff being involved in the conversation I had at the general committee. You said that was removed. What did you mean by that?
What happened is, when the second one that you revised, that was not in there like you had in the first one. Maybe it was reworded, because I believe Alderman Dixon, she mentioned as far as consulting, I'll put it that way. In, let's see, the first one here.
And the reason I'm asking is because nothing was removed pertaining to the planning department and I wrote it, and when you said it was removed, that's why I'm asking you what was removed.
I'll put it this way. When it was discussed, you had it originally.
I had what originally?
Originally about the committee. Okay, let me see, let me find it here.
Hold on one second. So I'm just curious, when you said it was removed, you were talking about the planning staff involvement.
No, I was talking about the general committee and discussion, the first meeting that we had that you were there.
So what was removed from
And-
the draft that I gave them versus what's in this now? What was removed?
What's in here states, let's see. Oh, what was removed was when you had at the bottom of the original one about anyone who was appointed to the committee could not run for a political office.
That was
in
in-
so many words. That was in the first one.
That
That's
was in,
what
that was in the draft I took to the general committee?
Yes, sir.
No,
The
it wasn't.
first one.
No, it wasn't.
In print? Hold on.
It was not in the ordinance that I handed out to the general committee. And it's not the ordinance now.
No, it's not in the ordinance. It's not in the ordinance now.
Right, and it wasn't in the ordinance when I took it to the general committee.
Okay, where it says, this picture, click, mayor's proposes citizens, not politicians.
Are you reading from the ordinance? What are you reading from?
This.
Oh, you said it was in the ordinance.
Okay, this is what I'm reading from. It's not, no, it was not in the ordinance. This is what I'm reading from,
Okay, but so.
on the email.
So were you wrong to say that I removed something from the ordinance a couple weeks ago?
This was on what was submitted, which, no, this is not the ordinance.
Thank you.
So for clarification.
So-
But it was written in print.
So-
But it was not in the ordinance for submission for tonight.
Nor was it in the ordinance a couple weeks ago. Would you agree with that?
That I will agree with. So what is this, I mean, it doesn't say ordinance on here, but it's in print, and it was a public record in an email. And it reads, since you brought it up, They have, let's see.
Are you reading from the ordinance?
No, sir, I'm reading for Mayor proposes citizens, not
My question is about the
politicians.
ordinance. That's what I'm asking you to
No,
read from.
this is not on the
Okay,
ordinance.
okay.
That is correct.
Okay, so you were wrong what you said earlier. I appreciate your help
If it
on
was
that.
not on, if it was not on the ordinance, that is correct.
Yeah, yeah.
I
Any other-
stand
any-
to be corrected.
Any other questions for Ms. Collins? Hold on, Alderman Petrelli, go ahead.
No, what was in print states, it's not in an ordinance for clarification, but in print it reads, Clary said this reduces political conflicts of interest. I asked 7 people to serve on this committee with the commitment that not one of them had plans to run for alderman. That is in print. No, it is not in the ordinance, but it is in print.
And that's still the intention of the people I nominated. So, any other questions for Ms. Collins? Ms. Collins, thank you.
You're welcome.
We need to vote on this item unless there's any other discussion on this item. I will not be voting for this amendment. The amendment is to remove Mike Tummins from Ward 5 and put in Pat Collins from Ward 4. Remove Mike Tummins from Ward 4 and put in Pat Collins from Ward 5. So any other discussion? Ward 2, I'm sorry. Alderman Peterson.
Yeah, I'd like to, I don't think it's an amendment, but is there any way we can add Ms. Collins and leave Mr. Tummins on the committee?
That's entirely up to the board if we want to do that.
I make an amendment that we add Ms. Collins and leave Mike Tummins.
Okay, so we have an amendment to the amendment. I need a second on that for us to go forward. We have a second from Alderman Petrelli. So what we're doing is we would be, this amendment would change the amendment, the previous amendment, so that Ms. Collins would be added and Mr. Tummins would stay. Any other discussion on this? Alderman Dixon.
So then we would have an even committee.
We'd have
Even number committee.
We'd have 8 people on the committee.
I couldn't support that.
Okay. Alderman Collins.
So if we have an even number, it would be at 8 at that point, yes. And so it would require 6 to have a majority vote.
Just 5.
Just 5. Okay, so if 5 of them don't agree, I mean, I'm comfortable with that. I'm comfortable with 5 being the number that needs to be reached for majority for a recommendation that will impact this city for 10 years. I'm completely comfortable with that. And so we can vote on Ms. Collins being on the committee with and without removing someone. We can do it twice if that helps clarify what we want to do. So
Right now, we're voting to add her without removing Mike Tummins.
okay,
Okay. Alderman Collins, anything else?
that's it.
Thank you. Alderman Brown, I've got your light turning red here. Did you want something else?
No, sir.
Okay, appreciate that. Alderman Petrelli and then Alderman Edwards. Alderman Petrelli, go ahead.
Oh, thank you. I would have to agree with Alderman Collins. I mean, we just made an amendment stating that the committee shall quote-unquote, utilize the resources of the planning department. The planning department should be leading the committee unless these folks have a background in planning and redistricting. And I am all for citizen input, and it's not, like they're passing legislative ordinances, although it will come to us. But I say the more the merrier. I would like to see more diversity in this group. So I have no issue with adding an additional person to the group. I know you gave kind of a brief, and this is one reason why I don't like to have named people coming in front of us, voting for them, because I don't think we should be discussing them, because it gets awkward. But to a certain extent, I would hope that some of these folks would have some years in the community. Have all these folks lived here more than 5 years? Mayor?
Would you like me to read their bios?
No, I just want to know if they've all lived here more than 5 years.
I didn't ask that question. I didn't think it was pertinent.
Okay. I will support the amendment for Ms. Collins. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Petrelli. Alderman Edwards.
Yeah, I'd just like to say, a minute ago, I said I would not support 8. I will, after hearing everything, I'll support this on first reading to add Ms. Collins in addition to the other one. So we'll have 8. I don't know what I'll do on second reading, so I just thought I would clarify that. Thank you.
So the effect of this amendment is to add Ms. Collins and as an 8th person. Jason, can you bring this up for us to vote electronically? Okay. So all those in favor of this amendment to add Ms. Collins, please signify by pressing the green button. Those opposed, please press the red button. So I don't see a total popping up in front of me, but I do see the numbers are 11-2, so that passes. Now we're back on the amendment that we amended. And since this, okay. Did you get that? Okay, Jason, we need to make sure that we're able to record that. So, okay. We're going to vote on that again. We're going to vote on that again. So all those in favor of the amendment, which is to add Ms. Collins as an 8th member, please press the green button. Those opposed, please press the red. You can go ahead and vote now. Okay. Jason, I just don't see a total. Okay, so that passes 10-3. Okay, so can you record that somehow? Appreciate that, okay. So now we're back on the amendment that was amended. And since it was really a substitution, all we're voting on is the same thing we just voted. We just voted on. So this is to add Ms. Collins as the 8th member. All those in favor, please signify by pressing the green button. Those opposed, please press the red button.
I thought it was to add her and remove.
No, we changed that amendment by substituting it, and now we just have to vote on the amendment that was amended. So we're essentially voting it twice because it became a substitute. There were easy ways to do it, but not easier ways to explain it. So pretty much what you voted just a second ago, you should really vote again. Okay. We can vote now. Okay, so that passes 10-3. So what we've done with the amendment and the amendment to the amendment is we have added 8th member, and that is Ms. Collins. Now we're back on the main item in front of us, the ordinance 2021-33, and we've made that one amendment. Alderman Cunningham.
Mayor, I know you added, deleted Steve Jackson from the committee and added William Stiles. Did you submit his bio to us, or I couldn't find it if you did?
I didn't. I read it a little bit earlier, but I'm happy to read it again.
Yeah, if you don't mind. How long has he lived in Hendersonville?
Lived in Hendersonville less than 2 years. He comes from Hendersonville, North Carolina. And he, let me see if I can, so I know this. So he has his own business, works in insurance, and used to work for Heath Schuler, Democrat member of Congress. And, what was that?
Rotarian.
And Rotarian, yes. Lives in Ward 6. I should have mentioned that.
What kind of business does he have? His own business, you said?
Yes, insurance business.
Insurance? Okay.
And father of 3.
And he's a registered voter of Sumner County?
He is.
Okay.
Hold on one second.
I'm sorry.
Jason, do you need me? Okay, hold on one second.
That's my only question.
Alderman
Thank you.
Cunningham, thank you. I can't, Jason, I can't, here we go, now go ahead.
Are we back on the main amendment?
No, we're back on the main motion. We have amended it a couple times, but I'll deal with that in a second. Alderman Edwards.
Okay, I have a question. This is for the mayor or the city attorney. Is there any reason this committee could not suggest a lesser amount of wards, like perhaps 4 or 5 wards?
I suppose they could, but that doesn't seem to be in the charge to them. I mean, if you want to do that, I would amend it to ask them to consider that specifically. I don't think they would go that direction in the short period of time they have unless the board asks them to.
Okay. Well, if there's nothing legally prohibiting it, I would just like to look at it. I would like to look at the different scenarios of having 4 wards, 5 wards, and 6 wards so they can come up with the numbers and at least put it in front of us and give us the option. I mean, I frankly thought that we probably had too many aldermen up here, 12 aldermen. I don't know, that's, too many cooks in the kitchen ruins the pie, I've heard. So I would just like to see that scenario, so here's what I would do. I would make a,
Alderman Edwards, do you want to wait until second reading to do that, or you want to go ahead and do it now? You can maybe get with Mr. Bradley?
let me go ahead and make the motion and see what happens.
Okay.
So, I would move to add a section 8, and for it to say that the committee will suggest 4, 5, and 6 ward boundaries. Or if somebody can write that a little more articulately, I would be more than open to that.
I don't know what he's saying.
I think our city attorney says it's pretty clear what you're saying.
Okay.
So 4, 5, and 6?
That's what I suggest.
Okay.
I just would like to see them, see what that looks like.
Okay. So we have a motion.
May I address that?
Hold on. Okay, go ahead.
And one thing I would point out, the charter does not allow the number that we have now anymore. Currently, in any new city, the maximum they can have is 8. So I'm not sure about how they could consider having anything with 6 other than what we have now. So really what you're asking to do probably is them to consider, just to help, I think this is what you're saying, to consider either 3 or 4 wards. Because we've got 6 already. If we go away from 6, we could never go back to 6. It would be a permanent change, and it would have to go at least down to 4 if we changed it. So I don't think 5 and 6 really would be options other than what we have now.
Okay, so, well, I would like to see at least that they give 6. So is that what you're saying? I mean, suggest 6, 5, and 4. I mean, they can, obviously, we can continue to do 6.
Yeah, but I think that what they would be considering would be either 3 or 4 wards, and whether to have 1 or 2 representatives in each ward. Those
3 or
really are
4?
the, yeah, because you can't have as many as 8's the maximum number of aldermen you can
Right.
have if you change it. If you
Okay.
start changing this, you're going to end up that 8's the maximum number of aldermen. We're grandfathered with our 12.
Okay, so we could not do 5. Well, then, if that's the case, I guess my amendment would be look at 4 and 6.
I think that would be.
Yeah.
I think that would be
I
appropriate.
think 3 would, my opinion, probably be too small of an amount, so I would like to look at 4 and 6.
I think that would be better to fit with our charter.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
we have a motion to request that the committee look at changing the number of wards to 4 or continuing with 6. Alderman Collins, did you second that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any discussion on that? I see that Alderman Cunningham is next in line. Do you want to discuss that item?
Yes, Mayor, I have a question about, it's pertaining to that particular item
Okay.
for our city attorney. Does our charter allow for at-large aldermen in addition to specifically ward or aldermen?
And the way it's written, it's in terms of wards. I mean, you could have an alderman that would just one, you could have a city with just, with only at-large, but if you're going to have the wards, we don't have any at-large allowed under our charter. I know other charters do, those are private act charters, like Gallatin has an at-large, but that's because they have a private act charter. The mayor aldermanic charter does not have that.
So ours doesn't allow
Ours
for
by
that?
wards, right.
Okay, that was my question. Thank you, Mayor.
Alderman Cunningham, thank you. Alderman Collins.
Alderman Edwards, would you consider adding to that for them to evaluate the number of aldermen per ward?
Hold on.
Perhaps we should have 1 alderman per ward instead of 2?
I mean, if you want to, yeah, well, I mean, let's leave it up, at least suggest a different number of, but I don't know if that would be within the purview of the
Well,
committee.
you're probably right about that.
I mean, that's something maybe we can consider. I wouldn't, close off me considering that later, but
Yes.
they're just going to do the
You're-
boundaries for now.
Yeah, I think you're right. Okay.
So do we want to change your amendment or your proposed amendment or not?
I'm not willing to change it. no.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, Alderman Collins, anything else?
No. I'm good.
Okay, thank you. Alderman Petrelli.
Thank you, Mayor. We've spent quite a bit of time on this ordinance now, and we've gone from concerns that are highly qualified, highly paid planning staff, which has done this in the past, that they are actually not in charge, to a citizen-led committee, and that this be a nonpartisan issue, to aldermen up here specifically asking for recommendations already from the committee. So this has completely gone in a direction of not only nonpartisan, let's hear what these folks have to think, to hey, let's have them look at this, and this. This is supposed to be an apolitical recommendation, and it should be done by our professionals in the planning department. I'm very curious, the path that we're going down here now, I'm just going to say it seems odd, just saying. At this point, I can't support this. I really, think that we should go back to the professionals, which is our planning department, and I'm fine with having a committee of citizens review it, but we are sitting up here asking them, hey, look at this, and look at that, and look at this. We are under a very tight deadline to get this work professionally done. This is not a Hendersonville Horizons Committee where we're going to ask for the moon of things that we think would be better in Hendersonville. This is a highly concentrated study of proper redistricting. So I'm very concerned how we've gone from a citizen-led committee to aldermen asking various questions of them. Thank you.
Alderman Petrelli, thank you. Alderman Robertson.
Thank you, Alderman Petrelli. I couldn't have said it better. It sounds like what we're morphing into is a committee to look at government reorganization. And I may support that a little further down the road, but at this time, we need number crunchers. We need map readers. We need people to understand the neighborhoods in this city so as not to divide them, and even schools. How are schools zoned for? So I just don't think that, I think that we're broadening the scope. We're bringing more politics into the equation. So for that, I agree with Alderman Petrelli. I cannot support this with all due respect, Alderman Edwards.
Alderman Robertson, thank you. Alderman Cunningham.
Thank you, Mayor. In 2011, 10 years ago, our wards were around 8,000. We represented about 8,000. If we go down to 4 wards, we're looking to represent over 15,000 people per ward. That's giving the people less power, less representation, in my opinion. So if we go from 8,000, to 10,000, which we would still keep the 6 wards, that's more reasonable. I mean, I cannot support an amendment like that. That would take us down to 4 wards and less representation. When you, as the mayor, are trying to produce the exact opposite effect of this. So I cannot support this amendment. Thank you, Mayor.
Alderman Cunningham, thank you. Anybody else wish to speak on this proposed amendment? So what the amendment is to ask the committee to come to us with a plan with 4 wards and 6 wards. Did I say that correctly, Alderman Edwards? Yes, sir. Okay. All those in favor, please press the green button. Those opposed, please press the red one. So that fails 3 to 10. I'm having to do math here instead of seeing the screen. That fails 3 to 10. Appreciate that. So is that recorded, Jason? We're good? We're good? Okay. Back on the main motion. So remember, we have a couple amendments. We added that it would be recorded. It'd also be shown live, that we had to renumber the sections. We added an item on section 4 so that that the planning staff will absolutely be involved, and we, I think that's it. Is that what we have? Okay. Okay. Oh, yes. Okay. Okay. All those, Alderman Petrelli.
I'd like to make another potential amendment, and the amendment would be this, should this thing pass. and I think there's support there, that at the very least, the planning department opened this committee up at their first meeting at the least and explain what the committee is doing. Explain to them the historical redistricting as it's occurred, explain the legalities of the situation, explain the deadlines, and explain why the city is currently in the wards that it's in and why, and how population works with representation. So my amendment is, at the least, that the planning department open this meeting with all of the historical data needed to educate everybody on this committee so that everybody knows what exactly needs to occur with historical data, the reasons why, and the importance of the deadlines. Thank you.
Alderman Petrelli, thank you.
That's an amendment.
It's a motion to amend?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Second.
We have a second. Real quick, Keith, can you, I assume you're okay doing that? I mean, that's, yeah. Do we need an amendment for that? Keith is telling us that he's happy doing that. Alderman Cunningham.
Thank you, Mayor. The maker of this amendment, would you consider also having the committee members, a requirement for them to read and understand the rules and regulations of redistricting?
Hold on here.
Sorry, yes.
So that they fully understand what their duties and responsibilities are on this committee?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Alderman Peterson.
Yeah, could that be summarized under section 4F?
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So we add section 4F. So it's interesting to me that just a few minutes ago, we heard concern that we were telling the committee what to do, and now same person is telling the committee what to do. So I don't see any problem with this amendment. It's in black and white, what my intention was all along. So I can support this. Any other discussion on this item? Alderman Robertson, go ahead.
Could you, I'm having a little trouble keeping up with it.
Alderman Petrelli, can you repeat the motion?
Sure. That the planning department, i.e. Director Free or his representative, open the meeting with historical data on redistricting, the requirements, the deadlines, the legal implications, and also, as Alderman Cunningham mentioned, that folks be vetted in understanding of the process of redistricting in the first meeting so that everybody's on the same page.
Alderman Robertson, anything else?
Oh, my. No, I don't guess so. I mean, I don't know how you vet them. I mean, is there going to be a test, or are they just going to attest? You know, so I'm having a little trouble. You got to believe that if they have agreed to serve, that they're going to serve conscientiously. They're going to serve with distinction, with preparation, as we all do before BOMA meetings. So I see this as superfluous, but it's just my opinion.
Alderman Robertson, thank you. Alderman Petrelli, anything else?
No, thank you.
Appreciate that. All those in favor of this amendment, please signify by hitting the green button. Those opposed, please hit the red one. We're missing somebody. We need you to vote, Alderman Skidmore. Or pass, or abstain. So that passes 8-5. We're back on the main motion. All those in favor of first reading of ordinance 2021, Alderman Skidmore, go ahead.
Thank you. I was looking at John. I can't remember how many we've been through these together, and I'm not going to talk about old times because it doesn't matter anymore, the old times. We can just enjoy the times that we've had and move on. But I would just encourage whatever side of the aisle that you're going to go on this, on this redistricting, and reread your charter. Reread it. I think you'll be better off in the long run. I'm not saying that you're not educated, but I think sometimes we get up here and we get lost in the political fight and the political battle, and see what redistricting really is all about in the first place. And when you find that out, take a moment to go back and reread your charter. I would just encourage this board to do that. Find out what redistricting really, truly is, what your job is, because we're ultimately are going to be the ones who vote on whatever this committee brings back. And if you don't like it, you can change it at this board. It's that simple. I'm not going to be mad at you because you look at their map and you say, you know what? I've represented this area. No way, this is wrong. There's no way that this can be, but if you do this and you tweak it this way and you tweak it this way, I mean, the bottom line is you all know your district better than anybody. You know it better than I do. I certainly would not say anything any different than that. But I would just encourage you to take those 2 steps, take a moment of your time and do that. And I think that you'll find that you'll be glad you did. Thank you, Mayor.
Alderman Skidmore, thank you. Back on the main motion. All those in favor, please signify by hitting the green button. Those opposed, please hit the red one. That passes 7-6, even after we made some amendments that some of those people wanted. Thank you, Jason. Now we're on to item H. This is ordinance 2021-34. This is an ordinance rezoning the property located on the east side of New Shackle Island Road and the south side of Iris Drive. Alderman Peterson. Alderman Peterson, can you make a motion for us?
So moved.
We have a motion from Alderman Peterson, a second from Alderman Petrelli. We're on item H. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Now we're on item I. This is first reading of ordinance 2021-35. This is an ordinance amending budget ordinance 2021-22 with respect to the establishment of a new pay plan and amending the job classification list and pay tables. Alderman Brown. We have a motion from Alderman Brown and a second from Alderman Campbell. Any discussion on this item? All those in favor of first reading ordinance 2021-35, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Now we're on other agenda items, brief committee reports. Alderman Brown for Parks Board.
Thank you. Quick Parks Board report, or really a Parks Weekend report. For those of you that do not know this, Bass Pro Series was in town last week for 3 days down at Sanders Ferry Park. Spent a lot of dollars here in gasoline and food and hotel bills, had the entire park taken up, a lot of kids stuff going on, a lot of good fishing in Old Hickory Lake. Everyone I talked to said it was phenomenal. I was there myself and it was phenomenal. They also did a 9/11 memorial service the evening prior to their tournament, and Lee Greenwood was the guy there doing that with a flyover. So that's pretty cool. Our fire department had memorial service at Memorial Park on Saturday morning. Brass Pro was back at Sanders Ferry with lots of fun. We had soccer in the parks. We had the second annual Spencer Bristol softball tournament that ended with Rockland Road doing a concert and fireworks. We had 12 teams last year, 16 teams this year. And I would like to tell you that the Hendersonville Fire Department beat the socks off the Murfreesboro Police Department. I may need you to walk me out if we've got anybody from Murfreesboro here tonight. So, but good job, guys. But what's significant about that is we went from 12 teams to 16 teams. That also brought some money and activity to us. Rock Castle, who we support financially across this board, was going all day. It had Daniel Smith Days, had a Bluegrass Fest, had Fire in the Woods with a special meal and music and a lot of good fun times there. So I would like to thank Mr. Gilly. I don't know that I've seen him that tired for a long time, but it's healthy for him to get that tired, and his crew, because they were everywhere. Mr. Hayes was out and about. I know some of you were too. We had a lot of really neat things happening in our city this past weekend. We stood up here and argued about stuff, but I think we can all agree that we had a really great weekend if you were out there. So that is that report.
You're next on the agenda.
All right, thank you. General Committee. We approved our minutes from our last meeting. We also moved ordinance 2021-33 to the floor tonight, as we just voted on a few minutes ago. Ordinance 2021-38 is an ordinance establishing the position of Director of Administrative Services and consolidating information technology and human resources into one department. A lot of information there to absorb. So we have tabled that for right now. We will be having a special call meeting within a couple weeks to invite those that are interested to ask questions, get input. That will be the only thing discussed. We will put the date out here in the next couple days. I'll work on the calendar with our COO and see how that works. We got resolution requesting Tennessee General Assembly to enact legislation to allow the city of Hendersonville to establish term limits for our offices of mayor and alderman. That was passed unanimously, and will be before you. Resolution to determine usage of funds received on 2021-22 local government grant program previously appropriated within the FY 2021-22 budget ordinance was passed unanimously. So Mr. Manning can write checks. Resolution 2021-46 to approve a final development plan for Forest Park. That was approved 3-0. Resolution 2021-47 is a resolution to approve a revised final development plan for Indian Lake Village to revise the layout of Phase 3G, Area 9, and to add multifamily residential to the list of permitted uses for Lot 46. That was approved 2-1 and will be before you, and that's my report. Thank you, sir.
Appreciate that, Chairman Brown. Next, we have Planning Commission, Alderman Peterson. Oh, there we go. You're on.
Thank you, Mayor. I have the luxury of having the planning director at the meeting, and I've asked him to step up to the podium and give our committee report. Thank you.
1 second here, Keith. You're good.
Thank you, Alderman Peterson. I'll just go through this fairly quickly. At our last week's Planning Commission meeting, we approved the following final plats. Fountain Brook Phase 2, Section 2, Norman Creek Phase 2B. Also, we approved the following development plans. The Forest Park Final Development Plan that was before the General Committee this evening. Also, a recommendation for approval of the Indian Lake Village Phase 3G Area 9 Lot 46 Final Development Plan, add use of multifamily. Also, the recommended approval for the following street acceptance of Durham Farms Phase 1, Sections 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 15. Kind of skipped a number there. But, and so that was, the BOMA approved that tonight on your agenda. And then finally, we approved the following site plans: the Hallmark Hyundai parking lot expansion, Hendersonville Fire Station number 7, and Twice Daily site plan that's going to be located at exit 8 off of 386. And that's all that I have.
Alderman Peterson, thank you. Finance Committee, Chairman Cunningham. Oh, sorry, here. There we go.
Thank you, Mayor. I have two reports. One was from our regularly scheduled meeting from July 27th. I'll just quickly read the ordinances and resolutions. Ordinance 2021-30, and ordinance amending budget ordinance 2021-22 to appropriate donated funds was recommended unanimously. Ordinance 2021-31, ordinance transferring funds and appropriating funds was recommended unanimously. Under resolutions, we had Resolution 2021-38, a resolution to carry forward $50,000 in unspent funds from prior year. That was recommended unanimously. Resolution 2021-39, a resolution to transfer funds in the inline hockey project was recommended unanimously. Resolution 2021-40, a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement to host a TSSAA middle school state softball and baseball tournaments was also recommended unanimously. Then tonight, we had our special call finance meeting. We had, I'm going to go through the ordinances first, and then we'll have a discussion about, I'll just outline the discussion that we had with the Resource Authority. Ordinance 2021-35, an ordinance amending budget ordinance 2021-22 to establish a pay plan for fiscal year 2021-22, and amending the job classification list and pay table was recommended unanimously. Ordinance 2021-32, an ordinance amending budget ordinance 2021-22 to accept and appropriate a donation from the Sumner County Anti-Drug Coalition was recommended unanimously. We had our local sales tax analysis report. Our sales tax collections for July was $1,540,840, which was an increase from year over year of $172,874, or 21.37% year-to-date change, which is wonderful news. So we're going in the totally right direction with our sales tax. Our hotel motel tax for the month of June was 28,000. Well, actually, for the year to date for the 2021 year to date, $219,449, which was an increase, not year over year, but year over year. But we're heading in the right direction to that. We're recovering dramatically with our hotel motel tax. And that's the end of my report, Mayor. Thank you.
Chairman Cunningham, thank you. Chairman Skidmore, Public Works.
Yes, thank you. Just briefly, we're meeting in 2 weeks for our normal our Public Works Committee meeting. I want to let you know that if you've been reading your emails, like I have not, been reading the emails, you've been seeing that that our staff has been keeping you all up to date on all of our projects that we've been going through this summer. We've been really working hard, and and now if you look, it's almost October, and we've done all this, and we're continuing on getting ready. We're also hitting now. We've done the paving. We've done not just a partial of our drainage projects, and now we're starting to look, because the fall's coming, and if you'll notice, the light in the daytime is getting darker now. So we're pushing, believe it or not, for our street lights and our street signs. So if you all have any, report them on your street lights, ones that need to be put up. We've already got our list and they're working. Also our street signs, if you'll just report them to Public Works, it'll come through our committee, and we'll try to expedite them as quickly as possible. One thing I do want to say that we're going to be talking about tonight is the Public Works Director, Ms. Locke. Sarah's a very good person. The time did not fit us. We have not voted, but I can honestly say that I think that our Public Works Committee would all support Sarah in this endeavor. She's done a remarkable job, and I don't know of anybody on this board that would not vote for her to be the Public Works Director. She's good to go. She's real smart. One thing that's very different in the city of Hendersonville with Sarah, she'll tell you just like it is, whether it's good or bad. You can't, there's no deviation from that. It's the way that it is, and that's what we need in Public Works. We need to continue that kind of leadership, and I think when the mayor, she couldn't be here tonight because I think, Mayor, isn't that correct? There's a death in the family.
Yes.
And so our committee would ask unanimous support for her. If you all know her, she's just a straight arrow, and that's what Public Works needs at this point. Not to say that our other folks were not straight arrows, but she's a straight arrow, and that's what we need to continue the course. There's only two other items that I do want to say. One, there has been a lot of, if you all have noticed, and this really isn't a Public Works kind of thing, but there's been a lot of death in our community lately, whether just because of older age or COVID or anything like that. And I'm sorry for saying old age, but it's just, there's been a lot in there. So just please keep in mind of our neighbors and our friends here in town. I had a lady that was a real good friend, and you all know her, Darlene Johnson. Most of y'all probably know her. She was a teacher in our city for many, many years. She retired. And her son Lance and daughter Julie they were just great people. She was great, and she served me well as a teacher. I learned a great deal from her, and I just found out that she had passed on too. And there's so much of that, and sometimes, like I said earlier, we get caught up in our own lives. But think about these people that we find out about them, and keep them in your prayers, and their family as well. I know that they would want that, and I know that if I ever get to that point in my life, I would want it too, because I welcome the prayers that I get. And my final thing is Alderman Collins, I need to see you after the meeting, so please don't leave me before we get out, if you would, please. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Appreciate that, Chairman Skidmore. Next, we're up to our Chief of Operations report. Jesse.
Thank you, Mayor. And to dovetail off of what Chairman Skidmore was talking about for paving, I just want to give a brief update on some paving that we just finished. So from Lakeside Park, from Gates to Curtis Crossroads, all of Cranwell, and the east end of Volunteer from Old Shackle Island to the dead end. And for this week and next week, we have scheduled to pave all of Creekwood from New Shackle Island to the dead end, and Center Point from West Main to Caldwell. Trace and the Public Works team have been doing a great job of getting these streets done, and they're going ahead of the paving, and they're putting stormwater infrastructure in front of the paving so that we don't have to come back in a couple of years to tear up any of the streets. So they've kind of thought about that ahead and are just attacking it. So great job for Public Works on that. As you heard from Mr. Free, Fire Station number 7 was approved by the Planning Commission. It was also approved last night through the Board of Zoning Appeals, as well as the cell tower at Fire Station number 4. The Board of Zoning Appeals approved that project as well last night. That's for a conditional use permit over there. The inline hockey project is, if you've driven by there lately, you've seen some steel going up. So we're on schedule right now to start putting the rafters up next week, and they're getting the base ready for pavement. So you'll start to see a lot of the activity out there now. It's been kind of groundwork, but you'll start to see that activity building up out there. And an update on the ARP funds. Those are those COVID funds, also known as the American Rescue Plan. The city has been allotted a little over $5.9 million. Our finance department requested the first draw. That draw has come to the city. That's over $2.9 million. That's in our account now. We are still waiting for the final guidance to come out from the Treasury. So the state comptroller has cautioned cities to wait to finalize their plans until that final guidance is out. And as of, it's supposed to be out in September. It's not out yet, but I plan at that point when it comes out to give staff a little bit of time to review, and then we'll probably do some type of workshop to discuss those ARP funds. And then as far as trash collection goes, I just want to give everyone an update. We're going to change our website a little bit to make it a little easier to report trash-related issues. So that should be up and running tomorrow. Rod is going to handle some Facebook posts where we push some information out on Facebook directing people to our website where they can report trash problems. We just kind of want to stay ahead of it, so we're going to have just some quick, easy links where you can report missed trash on the website. We're asking Waste Pro to send us daily maps of the missed areas, so we want to also have that on the front page of the city website, so if people are wondering what's happening with trash, they can click on the website and see if their area got pushed to the next day. So we hope to have it all up and running by tomorrow. I'll send everyone a kind of an update on how it works. And then in addition to that, we also want to inform you, if it's in your ward, that that trash area has been missed. So we're asking for an end-of-day report with a map every day from our provider to stay on top of that. And then we're going to track misses to assess fines if that's applicable at the end of the month. That's all for my report. Thank you.
Appreciate it, Jesse. We might bring you back in just a second. My report, the only thing I can add other than what's been in your packet and what we've discussed tonight is that just today we got word that Money Magazine has named Hendersonville as the 16th best place in the United States to live. Rod, 16th best place in the United States. Rod took that and led the effort on that, provided information to Money Magazine. Like I said, just heard about it today, and we think it's fabulous. It isn't just about the city. It isn't just about any members of the staff. It's about the businesses and about the whole community that we are here. Very, very proud of that, and we are going to publicize the heck out of that. It is something that's going to help us with our property values. It's going to something that's going to help us recruit businesses. It's going to be something that's going to help us to establish even greater pride for the people that live here. So very, very proud of everybody that was involved in that. And to me, that's the 61,753 people that live here as well. So next, I want to ask the board to confirm Sarah Locke as our Public Works Director. I so move. And Alderman Skidmore, would you make a second? So we have a motion, a second, to confirm Sarah Locke as our Public Works Director. Sarah cannot be here tonight. I am happy to delay this if somebody feels there's a need to. However, I don't want to penalize Sarah for something that that happened to her family. Any questions, we'll direct them to me or to Jesse. All those in favor of confirming Sarah Locke as our next Public Works Director, please signify by saying, oh, I'm sorry, Alderman Petrelli.
I just want to commend you, Mayor, on nominating Sarah for the directorship. I like to see that we're having more diversity with our directors, and Sarah has truly been a blessing to our city. She is probably, I don't know how she sleeps. She is one of the most responsive folks I have ever come across, and I think this is a great fit, so thank you.
I appreciate that. I assure you her gender had nothing to do with it. She was the best candidate that we had. Appreciate that. I appreciate that. Yeah. Yep. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. Appreciate that. Passes unanimously. Now, we're on to, we're on to adjournment. The two items you see before you will come before us. The last two items is something that will come before us in 2 weeks. Alderman Hayes. Let's adjourn. May I have a motion to adjourn, a second from Alderman Cunningham. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. We're